Hello and welcome to Movie Mandates. I'm Kelly,
And I'm Andrew.
and this is the show where my brother and I force each other to watch a movie based on a specific monthly theme. And it's May, and it's Is it as good as I remember month? So on our previous episode, we watched Brother's Pick, which was The Faculty, and it was just as good as I remember, at least. But this time we're continuing with my pick, Flight of the Navigator. But before we get to that, since I chose the movie for this one, it is only fair that Brother challenged me in a little game that we call Trivial Trivia.
So, last episode, I got the assignments backwards and I wrote a trivial trivia, even though I had mandated the movie. Well, so as not to let good work go to waste, we're just going to go with what I wrote for the last episode anyway, even though it's more appropriate to
The
faculty than it
Faculty?
is Flight of the Navigator.
Okay.
So, the movie poster for the faculty
Yeah,
has Usher on it, and we
indeed
talked
it
about
does.
this in the episode. I Usher is in the movie,
Indeed.
yes,
Mhm.
but he's not part of the main cast. He's not the main six. It would be like if in the Lord of the Rings, if you know
Eowyn was on there
yeah,
instead.
well, if like Sam's girlfriend Rosie was who runs the bar, if she was on it, you'd be like,
That's true,
why
because
is
Eowyn
she
had a
on
bigger
the
part.
poster? I mean, we all love Rosie, but what's she doing on the poster? It's like, is
Right.
she even in the movie? Yeah, yeah, she runs the bar at the beginning. It's like, does she? Yeah. What is she, famous or something? It's like Angelina Jolie or something. It's like, well, we got to put her on the poster.
Yeah, that
So that's
exists.
something that, and we speculated that Usher just got really popular after the movie was filmed, and like, oh damn it, he's in our movie. We should put him on the poster. Get rid of whoever that other guy is. Um, so that's something about movie posters that bothers me is when they put characters on the movie poster who really shouldn't be on the poster because they're
Hmm.
not that important to the movie, at least in the context in which it's presented. So, my question to you, or the trivial trivia this week, is name three things that movie posters do or have done that drive you batty.
Oh my gosh, I hate it when like I can tell you the first one right off the bat. When they have like it's a buddy cop movie and they have, Kevin Hart and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and yet the names of the actors are not over the correct person.
Great, great. Hart, Chris, what's his name?
Kevin Hart?
Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's name is over the Rock's head, and the Rock's name is over. It's like, well, the Rock contractually had to have his name first. Fine, then put him
Then
on the other side of the
then
poster.
reverse the photo. Like, and that's the thing, is like that whole contractual thing. So as you were doing it, I was like, I didn't know where you were going with your question, but I was like, if he doesn't go here, I'm about to tell people that my biggest pet peeve of posters
Yeah.
is that.
It's particularly bad when you have an ensemble cast like Steel Magnolias or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's like Sally Field and Julia Roberts. And it's like they're not even remotely in the right order. And it's like, well, if I don't know which actor
Yeah.
is which, this doesn't help at all.
No, exactly. And it's just annoying. It's just I hate that. Another thing that I don't like is, and this is kind of a niche answer, but when it's and I own a teaser trailer poster. So there are some fantastic teaser trailer posters out there. But my least favorite is when it's a teaser trailer poster and it tells you nothing, maybe other than a date. Like it's just, I recall, I don't know if it was an Alien one or I think it was
Independence Day,
that it just had that.
ID4.
Yes. And or it just has like a date and like the O or the zero is like an I. And I'm like, what are you supposed to be? What what are you? I think Godzilla had one like that where it was just like a floating, almost looked like a little green glowing vagina in the middle of the movie poster. But like and you're just like, I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. I know a date,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all I know. So yeah, so that
That
upsets me.
that minimalist approach, particularly for a teaser can work. I remember the
It can.
Independence Day poster that just said ID4. I'm like, what does that even
Yeah,
mean? What's an ID for? What is that? It doesn't make sense.
right.
The original Ghostbusters poster was just the no ghost logo, and it said something like "Coming to Save the World, Summer 1984." It's a teaser poster. Well, that's a ghost with a no ghost and coming to say
Right.
that's intriguing. That's interesting. It doesn't tell me exactly what the movie is, but it's a tease, and that's what
Yeah.
it's meant to be. But yeah, the I don't know what a green glowing vagina has to do with Godzilla.
I don't either,
She
but
lays eggs at
someone
some
did
point,
somewhere along
so
the line.
it's like she lays eggs in Madison Square Garden.
And we
Be
all
that as it
associate
may.
we all associate lizards as green. Look at
Yeah.
any child's coloring book. um
But what's
so
with the glow? I don't know, just to make it pop.
yeah, that black background, isn't it great? Let's see. So those are two things that I can think
Mhm.
of very specifically. I'm thinking of something that I'm sure is not on a, oh, I know what it is. Um, okay, the next two, I'll put two together to make one because I like to stretch the rules of this segment.
Sure.
I don't like it when something's given away. Like,
Spoilers in the poster.
yeah. So, yeah. Like
Like
if there's
Empire
people that
Strikes
are
Back, little speech bubble next to Luke. You're my father. Yeah,
or like, I mean,
that wasn't actually
I
poster, but
hope that its time has passed enough now, especially when this airs. But like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, like if they were on the poster with Tom Holland for that
the theater poster there. I'm sure they're on like the Blu-ray art, but
oh, but
yeah.
still, it's just one of those things that I'm like, maybe
Yeah,
it was
I
leaked,
actually,
but like, don't.
I actually wrote to my local drive-in, um, and told them it's like because when Black Panther 2 came out, I think the year before last, the marketing was being very coy about who the new Black Panther would be. Is it going to be Shuri? Is it going to be Angela Bassett? Is it going to be Riri for some reason? Is it going to be someone? Is it going to be what's her name? Oh, I can't even remember. I can't remember the character or the actor's name. It's not a Susan.
Lupita's character?
No,
I forget her name.
it's Lupita.
Nwongo. That's what I said. Lupita's
Oh,
character? Question
yeah.
mark.
There you
That's
go.
okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty, and the drive-in is like Black Panther 2, and they use the poster with Shuri on it in the Black Panther outfit. I'm like, the movie. There's a bunch of different posters. You could have used the one that doesn't have the spoiler on it because
Yeah.
clearly the marketing is trying to hide that fact. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was pretty clear it would be Shuri just because of the build. But
Yes. But still, but it is. It's if you I mean, previews are giving so much away anyways nowadays, and I really don't enjoy that. But like, yeah, that's the thing. So like spoilers on the poster and or like something that's actually not in the movie. As in,
trying to think of an example of that.
I am too. I
Hmm.
mean, because I mean, obviously it doesn't have to be an image from the movie. Obviously,
What was the tire on the poster for Twister?
it's obviously what I'm thinking about is the Twister tire. That is literally what I'm thinking about, but
Well,
I don't
that's movie trailers more than posters. I can't think of any posters that actually have
know, but
like that
but I still
costume.
but
But
spoilers on the poster still works because you were able to think of one too.
sure.
So what
Um,
else bothers you?
well, other than obvious things like, bad Photoshop or floating heads. Uh,
I know you personally hate a floating heads poster. But like,
but
yeah, when
I
they
also,
chisel the hell out of people for no reason or like give someone like boo and I'm like, that's not what they look like. And that's not even what their character in the show look
yeah,
like. They really, yeah.
I also don't like posters that are just um the only thing they tell you about the movie is Tom Cruise is in it. It's just his face. It's or Jack Nicholson. The poster for As Good as It Gets. It's just Jack Nicholson going,
Pulling a dog. with a
And like,
dog.
I mean, at least it's got a dog in it, but there's a lot of posters that are just the character. It's like, who's that? That doesn't,
Yeah.
that's not, I mean, they're like, it's Jack Nicholson, go see the movie. I'm like, well, that's not enough for me. Other things I can't stand is when they exaggerate the size of a creature. Like you have a creature feature, like
Oh,
they did this with
sure.
no, I'm sorry, Jurassic World, um, where there was a poster with um what is her name?
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard, thank you.
Okay, I was like,
Um, I was trying to think of Ron Howard's last name. I was like, Ron, I was gonna get his name and then I was gonna get her name. I'm like, it just was not working. But Bryce Dallas Howard, she's on one side looking out at the Indominus Rex, which is just like the lower part of its jaw,
oh, sure,
size
sure,
its
sure.
size,
Yeah.
but it's like literally 4 times larger in that poster than it is in the film. If you look at the original poster for Tremors, the graboid coming up underneath
It's
Kevin Bacon,
huge. It's
it,
like the entire truck size. And like it's
yeah,
a big,
it's
yeah,
like
that's
8 times larger than. I'm like, why are you? These
yeah,
monsters are huge. You don't need to make them any bigger.
yeah,
Stop it. I bugs the hell out.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Okay. They do well,
Now there are things you could do, like if you were doing a Godzilla movie or something, and it was literally Godzilla stepping on the Earth. I get he's literally not that big. That I understand what you're doing in that case. You know,
right.
Godzilla rules the world. He's got it under his thumb or his foot. You know, I get that. Okay, stuff like that is fine. But when they exaggerate the size of monsters on the movie poster, it just bugs me.
Yeah. I dig. I dig. I like that. I was the other way that I was going to answer your question, the one that you did
Jaws
not
is
ask.
another one. It's an iconic poster. It's a great
Yes, it
that
is.
shark is
I was
way too
thinking
big.
about that one. I was like, Jaws has a gorgeous poster with the
Mhm.
back of the napkin. Um, when you were saying about Usher being on the poster and not being like the main or any even a main person, it's just someone who was
At least he's in the movie.
famous. It reminds me of Scream with Drew Barrymore. But at the same token, that was an homage to like Psycho, which it gives it away if she's not on the poster.
Yeah,
Like if
yeah.
you have Drew
You need to
Barrymore in your
have Drew
movie and she's not
Barrymore
on
on
the
the
poster,
poster. You know,
there's
that
gonna
that was
be
that's fine. That was done with a purpose.
yeah.
Uh, you know, some people may I mean, for example, if you look at the whatever the poster they use for Inglorious Bastards, I'm willing to bet that the actual lead of the movie is not on the poster anywhere. It's just Brad Pitt and the rest of the bastards, I'm guessing.
I don't know.
I
That'd be
have the
interesting, but
DVD
you're
back there somewhere. I could
probably
go.
right. I
But that's more marketing. You
well
have to be
that's what it
like
all is, yeah.
I get annoyed when movie trailers sell a movie different from what the movie is, and Inglourious Bastards is an example of that. It's the marketing sold it as a men on a mission movie, kind of like
Right.
Dirty Dozen or something like that, and that's not at all what the movie is. Luckily, it's a very good movie. Still a little salty that I didn't get the movie I was promised, but at least you gave me a good movie.
Well, it's like Mars Attacks, which I
That
never
that
watched
was
again
just
because I was so upset watching
it
it the
was
first
still
time.
I that was just they weren't marketing that they weren't marketing the correct tone.
Correct.
So very similar thing.
Yeah.
Now there's holding your cards close to your vest, like putting Drew Barrymore on the poster to not give away
Giveaway.
to make her death at the beginning of the film a surprise. There's and then there's something like Dusk Till Dawn, which I think the if I'm remembering the marketing for that was pretty heavy on the vampire stuff. So I don't think the turn to the vampire stuff, but one way you could have marketed that movie is just as like a Tarantino crime, violent, talky
Yeah.
drama
And
kind of
the
thing that suddenly goes vampires. I
right.
think they just sold it as vampires.
I I think so, because I think I knew it was vampires
But
before
that
I had
feels like the
seen
kind of
it,
movie,
but
but I can imagine like Tarantino and Rodriguez really would have preferred. It's like, no, no, sell it as this weird, this talky Tarantino-esque film, and then suddenly it's going to do this weird genre shift in the center. It's like, so there are, I don't consider things like that lies, but
right.
yeah, it bothers me when movies are, market the movie you have, not the movie you wished you had.
Ding ding ding.
And you know, I feel sorry for people who have to cut a trailer and look at a movie and go, it's like, I have no idea what the hell, I don't know how to sell that.
Anyone working with David Lynch, this is like you left me nothing, David. You left me nothing.
Or Terrence Malick.
They're like, there's not even any dialogue in this movie, Terrence. What the hell? Such a good movie.
It's like, well, just cut it like it's an inscrutable art film. That's what it is, God damn it! I can't sell that.
It's just so basically like that's just a formula. Take every 5 minutes, take 10 seconds of film and put it to Terrence. I love it though.
Oh.
He gives good show. Yes. Yay! So that was good. You know what? Not a bad trivia question. And even though it had to do with the faculty, it was still fun to talk about. So not a big deal, because now we get to talk about Flight of the Navigator.
Mm.
And I
I
must
probably
have
have not seen since I was like 9 or 10.
I I cannot remember the last time I see it. Like it has to have been in our Glendale house. A. And it would have to have been grade school. B. But boy, oh boy, must I have watched it 100,000 times, because as I was watching it, not a single frame seemed unfamiliar.
Yeah, there was nothing in the movie that I was like, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, nothing. And I couldn't have
There
gone
was stuff I'd
through.
I'd since forgotten about.
Exactly. Like there are things that I couldn't have gone through, but then once I got there, I was like, oh yeah, this is that, this is that, this is that. And I think the most interesting thing about watching it was when I think about it, I think about him being on the spaceship so much longer, so much more.
That's
And that's the end of the movie.
that's the last third of the movie.
Yeah.
He doesn't even get to the spaceship until about
Until an hour in.
the movie's
Yeah.
an hour and a half.
Yeah.
He gets to the hangar at about 45 minutes. He
Yeah.
doesn't even leave in the ship until about 55 minutes. So it's
Yeah.
really only the last 35 minutes that he's dicking around in the ship with the robot and the
And
little
interspersed is still other like, dramatic things that
Yeah,
happen on the ground.
the ship stuff is probably only 25 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing when I watched it last night. I was like, wow, I have no idea how I paid attention to this. I have a hard time imagining a kid sitting through the first hour of this film.
So we watched it on we watched it Monday, in fact.
Mhm.
Because we had the kids this week. And so I was like, oh my gosh, we should totally watch. Well, we had the healthy ones. I was like, we should totally watch this with the kids. And he was on board and he thought, oh yeah. And the 8-year-old loved it. He was like, that was great. And it's funny
He wasn't
watching
bored for
things.
the first hour.
No.
I mean, he was okay.
I mean, I didn't like get into it with him, but he watched the whole thing. He
But he
stayed
sat there
in
and
it.
watched it. Yeah.
And after it was over, he's like, I liked that. And I think to myself, is it because they know what they're doing? They leave you after having just spent time on the spaceship, and then they don't, it's like
They only
spaceship, and we
doesn't
don't
really.
let it hang. We end the movie so that you're like, that was a fun spaceship ride. But like, I was actively on the couch going, oh my, have I led my children astray? In the fact of like, I'm like, they can't possibly be liking this. I'm enjoying it. I'm thinking it's interesting.
Mhm.
But I also think that even though you don't get to the spaceship for a while, and yes, it's like it's a good 45 minutes of what's going on and this and that. It it moves at a good pace. It doesn't dwell on really much of anything. Anything.
No, no.
And it doesn't go any deeper. It truly is. And so as an adult watching it, my entire feelings were different. And I have one thing to say in a moment that I think is hilarious, and just only hilarious because I am dumb. Not for any other reason, just because
Yeah.
I have trouble interpreting things as um but it it moves really quickly, and it goes a scene to a scene to a, so even though there's a lot going on, and as an adult, the good news is I'm filling everything in. I'm filling everything in with my life experience. I'm filling everything in with my emotional experience. And so as an adult, you watch this movie and you do a lot more work than you do as a kid. And I think that that's why a kid can stay with it, because it doesn't ask questions like, really, there's star charts in his head? Really, mom and dad just said, you've been gone for 8 years, you got here, and this guy's going to take you away and isolate you for 2 days and, listen in on the conversation. And the first night you're like locked in your room and you're not like it doesn't explore. It takes everything for face value. And I think for a kid watching that, that's great, because then they're like, yeah, of course I'd go. Yeah, mom and dad, they're gonna let me go to NASA and blah 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 blah. So hopefully that's why he paid attention for the first hour and then, watched the spaceship. But yeah, very, very interesting.
So, for anyone who has not seen or doesn't remember Flight of the
Sure,
Navigator,
sure.
here's basically what happens. So it's 1978, I think.
I believe so.
It's 4th of July, 1978, and we've got a family who are insanely rich. Do you see the size of that house?
And that's so
Holy,
funny, because as a child, I don't think I thought
and
about
they've
it
got a
that way.
boat.
And they have a boat. Yeah,
They
but
live
I
on the
think
water. They've got a boat. They live in this giant 2-story house with like
it's
glass front. It's like,
on the beach of Miami. These people are super wealthy. And it's funny as an adult to be like, that was the first thing as they're driving down. I'm like, holy crap, these guys are loaded. And as a child, you don't know anything. You're just like, la
yes,
la la la
well, I mean,
la.
when you're a child, you're small. Whatever house you live in is probably pretty big compared to
It's
you.
cute. Yeah, that's true too. It's huge.
I imagine if we like went back to the home we lived in either Granada Hills or Panorama City, it would be like, huh, I remember it being bigger.
I remember, yeah, that is true.
Like I remember our dogs Angel and Victor when we were babies and toddlers.
Yeah.
I remember seeing pictures of those dogs when I was an adult, and they're average sized dog. I
I
remember those
remember them being
dogs being
huge,
giant.
huge dogs.
And it's because I was very
Yeah.
small and I was I was only a foot and a half or 2 feet tall. The dog was as tall as I was. So they were giant, monstrous
Yeah,
dogs.
they
But
were
I
they were
look back
big.
and they're just regular sized dogs.
Really? That's funny. I haven't seen pictures, because in my head they're very large.
Yeah.
But yes, the house
Uh,
is huge. Please continue.
right. So anyway, it's mom, dad, two boys, and the boys bicker at each other. The boys play the
An
youngest,
8-year-old and a 13-year-old, I
something like
think, is what
that.
it
Yeah, I
is.
think he's
Yeah.
12 though. Um
12, thank you. 8
uh
and 12.
so the youngest is uh out at a neighbor's house and he's going to be walking back and he's like, go to the neighbors and get your brother. And there's a bit of a forest or something between the places.
Yeah.
Like, all right. So he goes hiking through the woods to go get his brother, and he falls in a ditch, uh climbs out of the ditch and goes back to the house, and there's different people there. Almost very tonally very different from the exact same scene in Back to the Future, where Marty McFly goes back 30 years and
Oh,
then he goes to his
yeah.
home and there's just complete. He sneaks in his own bedroom window and he lands on some teenage girl sleeping in his bed. He's like, oh god! And then the dad comes in with a baseball bat. It's all
Yes.
played for laughs, but in this movie, this kid freaks out, slumps into a corner, and starts crying.
It's so
And
sad.
Is it where's my mom and dad? Because he doesn't understand what's going on. He just left. He came back, and there's different people in his house. Um, what he finds out is he's been missing for 8 years. His family has since moved. His 8-year-old brother
Is now 16.
old, and much bigger than he is. He his you know So the father, how they did the 10 years or 8 years older for the actor who plays the father, who's someone you'd recognize, but I don't recall them.
So much recognize. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
they just
recognize some
put a little
people.
gray in his
Yeah.
hair. And then Veronica Cartwright, is that her name? Nancy Cartwright, something like that.
It's not Nancy, it might be,
Veronica
but
Cartwright, who plays the mom. They're like, "Oh, are you gonna put some gray in my hair too?" They're like, "No, we're going to slick your hair back, and you're going to remove all of your makeup."
yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna make me look a lot older than 8 years.
Yeah. At
Oh,
first I
man.
was like, oh, it's been more than I forgot how, like, that was the one thing I forgot because when he came back, I was like, oh, it's been a while. And then I was like, oh no, it hasn't. She just, women aged a lot differently back then.
Right.
But
So the first half of the movie,
you're looking up her name.
yeah, because it's bugging me.
It's bugging you. I knew it. I knew it.
Um,
The first half of the movie.
Veronica Cartwright. Yeah, okay.
Look at you go. Nancy
Um,
Cartwright is Bart Simpson.
Yeah, I was like, wait, is it Nancy?
That's why I said it must be
No,
Veronica
it's
because it's not
It's
Nancy.
Veronica Cartwright, right? Yeah.
So
Uh,
before you go on to the rest of the movie, this was the one part that I remember as a child. One thing that I find fascinating growing up is when you learn a word and you can understand the meaning of it, but you still can't understand it. So, for instance, when we watched Tango and Cash, right?
mhm.
And Sylvester Stallone pulls out the gun and Kurt goes, "Hey, how come yours is bigger than mine?" And he goes,
Thanks,
"Genetics."
Pee-wee.
Right. And I remember asking mom, I was
Should have
like,
made a sequel to Tango and Cash. That movie was
so
fun.
I remember asking mom what that meant because I was like, I don't understand. And she explained genetics to me. And I was like, okay, I understand that. I still don't understand why it's funny. So like there's a difference between understanding like the word
Mhm.
and then understanding why it's funny. So anyways, this isn't a funny thing. It's just like it's what I'm saying
What's the
is it's
actor who plays the woman in that? She played Lois and Lois and Clark.
Terry Hatcher.
Carrie Hatcher, thank you.
Um so in this movie, I recall distinctly as a kid when he runs back into that house and he runs upstairs and the man is there and he goes, "Can I help you with something, son?" And then he comes down and he says it again and he's like, "Oh, son, what's wrong?" or whatever. And he calls him son. And I remember being like, why is he calling him son? I don't understand why this man is calling him son. And I remember being very confused
Confused
as a
by that.
kid. And mom tried to explain that it was just like a colloquial, like it's just, hey, buddy, hey, pal. And I'm like, but why is it like I couldn't? And now I watched it and I just kind of laughed at myself. And I thought, oh man, I remember that was a sticking point for me that I did not understand it. Now I look at it and I'm like, yeah, that's just an old man talk.
Yeah.
Let's what's up, son?
Um,
So, anyways,
the
the rest of the
actor who
movie.
plays Davy, um, not the greatest actor in the world, but he's 12, give him a break. Um, he really sold the "Where's my mom and dad?"
Yeah, he
He
did.
not great. The dialogue is not very good in this movie,
No,
to
it's
be
not.
fair.
Yeah.
But he doesn't deliver it well. Anyway, but he handles the emotional scenes really well
Yeah.
as a young actor. Not great on dialogue, but pretty damn good on a lot of the emotive stuff.
Yeah.
Huh. So
Eh,
anyway, what turns out what happened is he was abducted by an alien who brought
mhm.
him back because of light speed travel, brought him back. To him it was a couple of hours, but to from the Earth's perspective it was 8 years. Dropped him off, and then hit a telephone pole and crashed. So luckily, so they end up meeting up and going on an adventure at the end of the movie. But the first half of the movie is this really weird premise of I fell in a ditch. I woke up and it was 8 years later.
Right.
My parents thought I was dead. You know,
And as someone who is a
I
parent
am legally
now,
declared dead.
is like, I thought to myself, I'm like, those parents, the stuff that they had to go through, like they're pretty dang well adjusted as a family for having like gone through all of that
Yeah.
8 years
So,
prior. Good for them. Movies.
yeah. So Act Two of the film is he's in a hospital and they're trying to figure out where he's been, and they
And why he hasn't
they hook him up
aged.
to
And
like are you frozen?
no, I'm right
Yeah,
here.
you're
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Oh,
Turn
okay.
off your camera and turn it back on. There you go. You're good. You're good.
Okay. All
All right.
right.
You're back. So they're running tests on him and they find out that he's broadcasting weird schematics of a spaceship and star charts and
Yeah.
without realizing that. And so NASA's like, well, that's weird because we just found a spaceship that looks exactly like that. Can we parents, would you sign this permission slip? We just want to, look at
We
him
need to dissect his brain.
for a
No,
couple of days. We hired Sarah Jessica Parker and she can buy him a Big Mac and have absolutely no character arc at
yeah.
all. And she like wasn't known at the time. I don't know what the point of this character, because they set her up like she's going to resolve an arc and then she just doesn't.
Disappears. Yeah.
Like, I mean, if she was only the function by which he escapes his room and gets to the ship,
Yeah, but then when she
fine.
goes to their home, you're like,
Then she
oh,
comes. Then when he gets in the ship and the ship comes out of the hangar, they're constantly cutting to her among the crowd, looking at it. She's the one who goes home and warns the parents, which amounts to nothing because the feds are there already.
right there.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then uh, they pick her up and then they take her back. And the guy asks her a question. She goes, "I don't know." And that's
And
the
you
last
never see her again.
movie. Now, when it first started, I was really impressed. At the beginning of the movie, there's this thing where Davy has a crush on Jennifer, the neighbor girl. I'm surprised and quite proud of whoever wrote this movie that Sarah Jessica Parker's character is
Wasn't
not the
Jennifer.
adult Jennifer. I
Correct.
totally
Correct.
thought that would be her, and it's not. She didn't even show up in the. They never mentioned her
Nope.
again either.
Nope. Which is good. That one's good. Like, and I agree with you. I'm glad that it's not, um, I'm glad that it's not her. Although it would have been more than 8 years. um,
Yeah.
because she is older than 20. I mean, she's still young in that
Mhm.
movie, but like, she's working at NASA, even as just
Uh, you know,
she's
the male
early
girl.
20s. Yeah. But very, very funny. No, I remember her character and I remember her being in it. And it's funny looking back now because I'm like, she went somewhere. And I don't know where any of these other people are.
Yeah.
Although it's fair that the NASA guy and mom and dad were 70s, 80s
Hmm.
actors. So that's fair that like now in 24, they're not, popular people. We don't know who they are. It's fine. But like I don't even recall um Davy or even 16-year-old Jeff doing anything. Did 16-year-old I had such a crush on him when I was a kid,
Well,
16-year-old
he
Jeff.
lights
Mm,
he kept the
not now
fireworks
though.
from that night and he lights them on the roof to guide him home. So that circles around.
No, I mean like in the real world, that actor hasn't done
Oh, the
anything.
actors.
That's what I was saying. Sarah Jessica Parker is the only one who like
The
go
the,
went
the
on to do.
the parents are working actors. You see, especially in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
Sarah
that's what I
Jessica
was saying.
Parker
The
was
parents
everyone's
were the
mom.
parents and the NAS guy were
Um,
70s and 80s
the
actors.
kids, I
But the
don't think Paul
kids,
Rubens, of course, yes. Sarah Jessica Parker, of course.
okay, but it's not. Here's what I'm concerned about. That's not his name in the credits.
Oh no, it was like
Paul Mall
Mall.
or something.
Did he want it to be a secret? Because as soon as he starts talking, it's really obvious it's
Well,
him.
that's what I'm wondering. Is it Paul Rubens?
It is, yeah.
Are you positive?
I have, let me double check as yeah, Paul Rubens voiced Max as Paul Mall.
Okay.
Uh,
I love the voice of Max. I think it's great. I've never heard Paul Rubens speak as Paul Rubens, so I can't tell you if
you've
that
only heard the
was.
Pee Wee voice.
I've only ever heard that, so I don't know what he sounds like. I only know the Pee Wee voice, and what was else was I gonna say? I was funny enough, I named my Mazda Max after this movie, by the way,
Oh,
even though I hadn't seen the
actually, I didn't
movie.
know that.
Yeah, so when I was driving the Mazda, I
I
named
mean,
the
I knew the
Mazda
name. I didn't
Max.
realize that that's
Yeah.
what was.
Yeah, I named it after Flight of the Navigator.
Huh.
Which again, I didn't rewatch before I named my car. And I don't regret it. It was great. Good name for that car. Um, shoot, where was I going with that? I was gonna talk about Paul Rubens, but I don't remember why. So maybe it'll come back to me.
You're talking
Nope.
about the actor.
Oh, I remember. So I was watching this little show called Movie Mandates on YouTube the other day.
Yeah, good show.
It's a good show. I don't recall what month it was. But you did the trivial trivia of one word show, like if you like inconceivable, and that would Princess
Well,
Bride.
that was for the mea culpa
It
one.
was for me a couple
Okay,
months because it was after Attica. Yeah.
Attica.
And it was funny because I remember, so I was watching it and I was like, oh, come on, Eisen, get it together. Because, of course, watching it, I'm thinking of a whole bunch, but we also had the conversation. So there's that.
Oh, compliance.
But
Yeah.
compliance. And once he said it the first time, I was like, come on. I was like, there it is. It's
Right there.
compliance. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's right there.
So
Yeah.
what I find funny about this movie is as a little kid, I can't imagine giving much of a poo about the first 2/3 of the film. I'd be all about the fantasy of getting my own spaceship and fun little Muppet creatures and a robot and flying all over the world, right? But as an adult, I found the first 2/3 of the movie much more interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah.
And it's
Like I said,
genuinely interesting because I try to, I remember the movie, but I do try and put myself in the mindset of learning what's going on as I go. And the kid falls in a ditch, wakes up, and there's different people living in his house. And then he goes to the police, and it's like, this is a missing persons report. It's like, oh, well, we know who his parents are. It's like, look at the date. Oh, that was 8 years ago.
must be a misprint. Yeah.
And
They're
it
like, no,
builds,
he's
it's an
declared dead. Yeah.
interesting mystery. Where has he been for 8 years? Why has he not aged? And it turns
Because they
out
don't give
he was
you
abducted by
anything.
aliens.
Yeah.
It's
Full on.
great. And also,
Yeah.
what's particularly funny is the first conversation he has with Max when he enters the spaceship in the hangar is Max talks to him about what went down. And he says, "Oh yeah, we abducted you, but and took you home to Phalon, which is some 500 million light years away or whatever it is, and we we're doing some experiments just to learn about you and your inferior species, and found out that 90% of your gray matter is unused, so we filled it up with star charts and stuff." Just to see what would happen.
Just to see.
And he goes, well, what happened? It leaked.
It's so funny when he says it leaked.
I love the fact that these bozo aliens are just abducting people and just, it's like, oh, your head's mostly empty. Well, fill it with stuff. Like what? All the star charts. All right.
Go on.
What happened? It's leaking.
It's not keeping it in, sir.
So normally what the aliens do is they go back in time and they put the creatures back, not just where, but when they were abducted. So, everything's good. Might be a little traumatic, but yeah, whatever. But they're like, oh, this inferior species with the leaky brains, they're not going to survive time travel. So we're just going to drop them off. I'm sure it'll be fine.
We'll put them back, but yeah.
And then he crashes into it, not a telephone pole. He crashes into like an electrical tower or something like that. And it comes out later that he was literally just looking at flowers and just drove into a pole. I that's hilarious to me. I actually love this setup. And then the last third of the movie is the kid gets in the spit. What happened is, he crashes into an electrical tower and fries the ship, which ends up deleting all of his star charts. Well, luckily,
Luckily, leaky
Davey
brain.
has all the star charts in his head because they put them all there just to see what would happen. And so he lures Davey over to the ship and he says, "Look, I just need to scan your brain so that I can get my star charts and go home." Right?
Oh, this is the best part. You're going to talk about this brain scanning?
Well, we talked about this last night. He's like, yeah, it's a really funny scene. He's like, how many times have you done this? He goes, zero. Never? Well, I'm not going to let you scan my brain. What if you fry my brain? He's like, I'm not going to fry your brain. And he's like, no, lie down. And the chair sinks into
Oh,
the
yeah.
floor and he
And
lies
Alan
down and the camera
Silvestri,
pushes in and
yeah.
he's hovering over him and his eye goes open and it fires out a green laser and goes new new. That's it. That's it. Wasn't a
That was
big thing. Just whoop, whoop.
hilarious.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
And the thing that I like so much about that is like for an advanced society as like Max and his people are, or his
Well, Max is an autonomous drone as far
arms are, like, yeah, Max and his whoever's are, like at Phelan, they have like they are better than it. Like the reason why we on this earth think that things have to be so intricate and it's gonna hurt because we know another way because we're so primitive and leaky brained. Whereas they're like, no, we've perfected this. It's just it's literally like going to the grocery store and going bleep bleep. Like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
the bar scan.
There's the reason you only use 10% of your brains because any more full than that, it just leaks out all over the place.
That's so funny.
Um,
Um,
I love so the last half of the movie basically is because the NASA's like freaking out. So he's like, get me out of here, just 20 miles away. And he goes 20 miles straight up. It's like, not straight up. Oh, okay. He goes 20 miles out in some direction. And then they both realize that they have no idea where the hell they are. I mean,
yeah.
he knows he lives in Fort Lauderdale, but he's 12. He doesn't know how to navigate the country. So they end
I
up,
thought that was so cute too. Like again, like no, I noticed so much more as you would as an adult, but I'm just like that whole thing. I was like, huh, that is obviously. And then they bicker over directions. We could have taken the turnpike; it would have gotten us there
yeah,
faster.
once they actually get to Florida, they start following the freeway. But it's funny because they end up going to Tokyo, and they're like, well, this clearly isn't right. It's dark too. We're on the wrong side of the world. So they end up going across the ocean. They're like, well, that's a Golden Gate Bridge. We're in California. All right, so so they end up, if you listen to the dialogue, they're just following like the Gulf of Mexico and they're just following the southern part of the United States using very basic childish geography to
Yeah.
get to Florida, which is exactly what would happen because the kid has no idea how the hell to do it. And the robot Max has star charts, but he doesn't have a map of the US. He doesn't know where it is either. It's
Yeah, he
really
only
a
knows what
very
Davey
fun
knows.
setup. I also love when he stops for a bathroom break, the cows like flinch. Like it's like, I remember you.
I've seen you before.
Yeah. I'd also like to point out that the a lot of the floating ship effects are really well done.
Yeah, I liked it.
Now,
I did.
a lot of the matting, especially in Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Oh,
Oh,
that
Tokyo.
looked
That
really
was
bad.
tough. That
Um,
was
but the shots where the ship is a physical prop on the set and the floating stairs and stuff, a lot of forced perspectives and
yeah, but I liked it.
mounting in different ways. There's a lot of different ways to do those shots, and it's done really well. I was like, 1986. I was looking at the credits. It wasn't like this wasn't ILM. I didn't recognize any of the puppetry people or the effects
Oh yeah.
people. Um, and because I was watching this on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
which is better than an old crappy VHS tape, you can see the wires on the puppets.
Sure,
The
sure,
little
sure.
monofilament threads on the puppets, and Also, the score I didn't remember being so synth heavy.
Yeah, it's Alan
Um,
Silvestri, which is a name that when it came up at the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, so this is a funny thing. So the beginning of the movie, and this just dates the movie is all.
mhm.
I almost lost their attention, there being children
The kids, yeah.
at the beginning of the movie,
All right.
because the opening is about 3 minutes of dogs catching frisbees, because this is back in the day when all of the credits
Are pretty much up
are
front.
at the beginning of the movie. And they're like, is this the movie? And we're like, yeah. And they're like,
This is just
the
a
movie's about dogs. And we're like, no. So like we had to go through the whole, okay, at the back in time, you see. But it was very funny because when the first dog when the first thing was the flying saucer, because it's a silver frisbee that the dog is catching, and so it's flying through the air, and there's so
it's
much
really well shot.
foreshadowing. There is
It,
so much foreshadowing about the thing
mhm.
being the alien spaceship, because the beginning is the
They do that
silver
3 times. It's really
frisbee,
funny.
and then is the Goodyear blimp.
You're
Everyone's like,
the
oh,
shadow along the ground,
yes,
people
and
turning up and looking at the sky. It's a blimp. And
it's
then
just,
even when he's walking around in the forest in a couple really bad day for night shots,
yeah.
this big silver dome starts appearing beyond the trees, and it ends up being a water tower. Stuff like that is kind of stupid, but it's also that this is an alien spaceship movie, and
You're waiting
we
for it.
know it. Wait for it. Ah, you
Yeah.
thought it was it, but no, it's a
No, it's not
frisbee.
it. Not it yet. Not it yet. Yeah.
I think that's fine. The one thing that stuck out to me, among all of the other things that stuck out that I've been talking about, is when this incredibly rich family gets in their station wagon or whatever it is, and they drive away. On the radio is "You're the One That I Want" from Greece, and I was thinking, is that anachronistic? And I looked it up. 1978. It was that year.
Oh,
I'm like, okay,
all
amazing that
right.
it's on the radio already, but okay.
Yeah, that's true. That
I
is
mean,
true.
Beach
But
Boys works. That would be in the 60s from somewhere, but um
yeah, it was very funny because when they were looking for radio stations on the ship, and they're listening because they wanted to listen to music, and
I
Davey's
think
like,
that's a fake song. I don't think that's a real song. I think that was made for the movie. The one where they find the car and it's playing a song. I don't think that I
yeah,
think the
I don't
movie.
know what that song
Yeah.
was. It
It's
didn't.
not Twisted Sister.
No, it's not, but it was not recognizable to me. But I thought it was funny when they were looking, because then Max goes through radio signals to find one, and that's when they find the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
But there's a country station and there's an opera station, and he's like, ew, that's not music. And I was like, you take that back right now.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. Um what is it? It's
What are we
uh
thinking about?
I'm trying to think of what song it was, and I'm
The
blanking.
Beach Boys one?
Not the Beach Boys one, the when they're flipping through stations. Oh well, the something bossa nova, that one's in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That one's on there too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, can't go wrong with Beach Boys. That's fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
It's
Flight of the Navigator is an okay movie.
Yeah, it was a good sit.
Perfectly serviceable, okay. It's not too long. It's only an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Surprisingly, takes a while to get to the spaceship parts, but I mean,
but
I
it's
think
not boring.
your kids
I
sat
think
through it,
about it as a
so
kid. I'm like, I can't believe that. But like it does its thing. It's cute.
it's good enough for adults. I mean, I found the first 2/3 interesting, even though I saw the movie 30 some years ago. And the spaceship stuff is pretty childish, but also fun.
Yeah.
If you can relive, put your mind in the now. I've never been into Pee Wee Herman. I've never enjoyed the character. I think Paul Rubens is a gifted comic, but shit, he passed away a couple years ago, didn't he? Yeah, shit.
Recently,
Was a
yeah.
gifted comic, but I never cared for the Pee-wee character. I never found it funny. So
Which is why I feel so bad that I don't know any, because I only knew him as that, and I didn't like Pee-wee at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
I didn't watch his Playhouse. I don't even remember. I think I saw the movie once, and I think it's about a bike.
It is.
But like, other than that, and I remember not even liking it. I was like,
There's a
oh, I
lot
don't
about
like
it that I
this.
like, and none of it is Pee-wee.
Oh,
You know,
because yeah.
it's just a style of humor and a character that doesn't speak to me.
But I
That's
love Max's voice. I remember, like, I distinctly remember that voice. And that's why I was like, are you sure? Because it's not what I'm used to. But like, I loved his, especially before he scans Davy, because after he scans Davy, he gets all of that information, the star charts
yeah, the deeper
and the kid
monotone.
stuff.
Yeah, I think that works really well, and
And I
I
think
think
that's
that
cute.
monotone would probably would have worked for me better rather than using the Pee-wee voice for the after he does the scan, because that's it, Davy.
Yeah.
And that's more
Yeah.
goofy than Pee-wee, but I can't do
I
Pee-wee.
can't do it. I don't
I've
know.
never tried, so
Fair enough. Fair
and I'm
enough.
not going to anymore.
Although
So
the
sleight
most
of yeah.
unrealistic thing about the movie, and then you can get to what you were about to say, is the very, 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 very end.
Mhm.
Davy steals a specimen from the ship because while the specimen was being examined, their planet
Yeah, its
died,
home world
right?
got hit by a comet and was annihilated.
Yeah. So he's an orphan, he has nowhere to go, and he's super cute, and he goes, and he has a little beard.
Mhm.
Super cute. And so Davy absconds with said creature and brings him home. And now we're back in time when the brother is 8 years old, and little fun little dude creeps out of David's backpack, and the 8-year-old sees it and goes, and David goes, "Shh," and he puts his and he puts him back down. And 8-year-old Jeff is like, okay, cool, secret. And I'm like, so unrealistic. That child would not, what is that? I saw
Mom,
something. I saw something.
Davey's got
No,
an
show
alien.
me, show me, show me. Oh, okay, I'll be quiet. Yeah, no, you would not a child of 8 in the
Yeah.
world.
So the movie ends. So they do finally make it. They navigate home. And all the feds are there, and he's like, "Man, they're just never going to leave us alone. They're going to study me forever. Let's see if my squishy human inferior body can survive the time travel trip."
Yeah,
I think this whole sequence was creepy to me as a child.
I
Um,
remember. Yes,
uh,
with the red lava-ish
with the red
thing.
lava thing reflecting in Max's eye, and the lightning plane that they're moving through. As an adult, I think that sequence could have been a little bit longer, and I think they could have built it up a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's a kids movie, so they they establish by outright stating what the stakes are. You might die. Let's do it. Oh, this is kind of spooky. Okay, it's fine. Which, is okay for kids. And you can also totally tell it's a kids movie because he wanders home, tells his parents to love him. We're done with the movie. Go to credits.
We're
It's like,
done.
oh, we're
Yeah,
done.
it's over. Completely over. Yeah.
So has he
Um,
gained his confidence and he's going to go say hello to Jennifer? No, we don't care. We're done. That's 90 minutes or it's 88 minutes. Get
yeah,
out.
right. We're in, we're out. Get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But and I will say though, that's a very mature, thoughtful kid in the way of like, they're never going to leave me alone. Like, this is going to be my parents' life. This is going to be my life. This is it. Like, they've lost 8 years. Now I'm back. This isn't my family. I don't belong here. I
I
need to
have
at
to
least try.
wonder, it's kind of horrible to think about it, but is this like split timeline kind of thing where
Yeah, I sometimes,
timeline
yeah,
persists and they've lost their child twice?
that's true. Yeah.
Like, is there
Wouldn't
an
that
alternate
suck?
reality where they still exist and their son left? I
And they're like, what the much, dude.
Or maybe not. Maybe they stop existing as soon as he goes back in time, which is also kind of horrifying to think about. The entire reality just blinks out.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think about that, but yeah, that is kind of
Happy children's movie.
and thus ends. And on that very uplifting note, as is it as good or thus ends as good as I remember month, but movie mandates continues in June with Pearl Clutcher movies. I'm very excited. So Andrew, what movie did you mandate for us to just be completely shocked and appalled by?
Cuties.
Like the oranges, the very small fruit?
No. No, Cuties is a movie that came out on Netflix like 4 years ago or something like that. It's about a group of like 10 or 11-year-old girls who start a dance troupe, but they're influenced by modern pop music. So they dress and dance in a bit more of a sexualized manner than they really should. I'm not entirely clear on what the entire plot is. I'm not sure if it's like a the parents living vicariously through their children by doing the baby beauty pageant things that real
Okay, sure, yeah.
I'm not sure if it's that or if it's these kids trying to navigate their own bodies, their own sense of self, their burgeoning maturity, reacting to media and popular culture, with or without parental mentoring. I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that this movie caused a bit of a stink because from mostly bad faith individuals, but there is a good faith criticism one could levy at what this film might be. And that is, can you depict the sexualized exploitation of children without sexually exploiting children? Fair question. If you're talking, if you're using 11-year-old actors and, dressing them in, skimpy outfits and having them shake their butts at the camera, are you not doing that which you're critiquing? I haven't seen the movie, so I have no idea.
I don't know. It should be quite a good conversation coming up then. So
Pearls.
Pearls, I shall be clutching. Let us find them. So if you would like to clutch your pearls and watch Cuties as well, check out the description to see where it is currently streaming or if it's available to rent. If you said it was a Netflix original?
I don't know if
anyways.
it's produced for Netflix or if it was just bought by Netflix, but it premiered on Netflix and I think it's still there.
All right. Well, check the thing.
Yeah.
You'll find it and we'll find it and we'll watch it together and then we'll talk about it in 2 weeks. So until then, you can watch Movie Mandates on YouTube like this or listen to it in podcast form like this. And hey, if you enjoy the show and you would like us to reach a wider audience, we would like to reach a wider audience. So let's engage. Yay. It's key. So watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, ring bells. If you're on iTunes, rate and review. We thank you very much. And with that, I am Kelly. You can follow me on Instagram at PimentoLivia, only one hope.
And I'm Andrew. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen.
And we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Movie Mandates, and we will be back soon with yet another mandated movie. Bye, everyone.
Bye.